to open session at 6:07 p.m. Welcome to the meeting of the Lancaster School District. Pleased to have you here. And we'd like to report that there was no action taken in closed session. We do have a student discipline item. Do we have approval of expulsion of student number 7101, 7162? Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Keith Giles. Second by Dwayne Wynn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. And we'd like to have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Diane Grooms.
Please join me as we salute our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. And our first informational item is enrollment report led by Rebecca Cooksey.
Good evening, board. So as of today, in our TK through 8th grades, we have 14,073 students. In the ECE, we have 539 students for a grand total of 14,612 students. This is a gain of 44 from our last board report and a gain of 316 from the same time last year.
Sorry.
Great news. Thank you. And we have a slight technical issue. We're going to take a short break.
Luckily, the plexiglass is flexible. As long as it's working. All right. You're welcome. Fire in the hole. All right.
Okay, next we have the Life Changer of the Year Award.
Thank you very much, Mr. TV. Is Mr. Francois here?
Yes.
And his principal, Mr. George? Is that Mr. George? Mr. George, come on up and to the podium, please, and say a few words about Mr. Francois. And as Mr. Francois is approaching the podium, I would like for us all to acknowledge and recognize and celebrate him for being nominated for the National Life Changer of the Year Award. He is one of our fabulous teachers over at the Leadership Academy. Congratulations and thanks.
Yeah.
As I was speaking to the lady from the Antelope Valley Press, I told her, and I told a few people that I kind of feel like, very humbled and honored. And it's one of those things that I don't see it as me alone. I see all of the other parts, all of the other people that are behind me that allowed me to be in a position to help many of our at-risk kids. And one of the things that I believed was I felt like we can't always capture every kid's heart, but we can give all the kids our heart. So that's something that we can do. So I'm very humbled and honored. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Francois.
Can I share just a couple of thoughts?
Please.
I've worked with this Francois for close to 23 years now. And he's been this way since the day I met him. He's always puts kids first. He is focused. Kids know that he's serious about what he's doing, but they know that he loves them. And Joe's been that way since I've known him. So I'm really proud to know him and proud to have him at my school. Thank you.
And we're proud to have him in our district. So thank you, Mr. Francois, for all that you do. And I believe that we can still vote. Is that correct? Yes, we can. Okay. And
Vote often.
well, okay, only once, but we can tell a friend, right?
Yes, we can.
We can tell a friend. So I wanted to commend you on the fabulous front page coverage that you had promoting this. So we wish you all the best, but you are already a winner in our book. So thank you very much for all that you do.
Yes, great job. Congratulations, best of luck, and thank you for all you do for the students in our district. Great job.
You know what? I don't know where he's.
Okay, next we have presentations, requests, proposals, and reports. We have our one-time LCAP supplemental report and Title I program evaluation and report led by Dr. Jordan Goins.
Let me see. All right, perfect. Thank you. So good evening, everybody. It's great to see you all tonight. I'm really looking forward to being able to provide some, hopefully some enlightening information as to where we're moving, where we've come from and how we're moving forward in Lancaster School District over the rest of this year, and how we're starting the process currently of building our current 23-24 or 22-23 LCAP, or local control and accountability plan. So in order to have a good understanding of where you're going, one of the first things you got to do is you got to know where you've been. So that's why I'm going to start here with our Title I program review, so we can see what happened last year in terms of some of the data that we've had to provide. You all have had access to a thorough document in order to read that was provided with your board packets earlier, that gives everybody a lot of information. The idea behind this is to give a high-level overview for the public and allow everybody the opportunity to really be able to have an understanding of where we're going. So here we go. So this is going to be the Title I program review for 2020-21. And yes, this is for 2020-21 because we need to be able to look back that far. So to start us off, when we talk about the Title I program, the Title I program is the program that is mainly and put in place to be able to assist our students who are low socioeconomic, our students who are who would have barriers in their way to be able to get to true academic success. So the purpose of Title I is to be able to assist in being able to take away the barriers that might be associated with some of their situations, and allow to provide them the opportunity to be able to get to be able to do a little bit stronger work. So the CDE defines it as, will tell you that these funds are used to support effective and evidence-based educational strategies that close the achievement gap and enable students to meet the state's challenging academic standards. So that's the point of what we're doing here with this. So the Title I program has specific supports that are provided for it. The first one being activities aligned to meet academic standards. Obviously, we have to be able to take away any barriers to be able to provide the assistance or the work that our students need to, or the supports that our students need to be successful. We must have evidence-based strategies. We do a really good job of that in terms of our curriculum and instruction department and making sure that our people have that. One of the pieces to it, one of the aspects of it is the idea of you cannot supplant state funds. You can only supplement. So the money has to be for above and beyond. It can't be in place of. You must be identified for use in the school plan for student achievement. So when you see the SIPSAs come up for board adoption, they're coming up specifically under this particular piece. The idea being, how are we spending and working our Title I program? At the site level, it must be driven by the school site council, and parents and families must be engaged at the SIPSA level, at the school site level. And it's another reason why we provide these meetings to be able to give some information on what's going on with our programs. So this is what Lancaster School District, and again, this was 2020-21. This is what Lancaster School District looked like in terms of enrollment last year. You'll notice COVID, significant drop. Our enrollment by ethnicity, even though we had a significant drop in enrollment, you didn't see a whole significant change in what our demographics really looked like. One of the pieces that we used, and because we didn't have the California Assessment for Student Proficiency or Progress and Proficiency, the CASP, because we didn't have that, we had to use our iReady exam to be able to provide for our understanding as to where our students, how our students did throughout that school year. So the benefits of this was that it was local and provides an access to student growth and the possibility, and it showed us the possibilities that learning loss may have existed. And it was a 5-level placement. That 5-level placement provided us the opportunity to really be able to see where our students were in terms of being at those students who were exceeding standards or exceeding our expectations by leaps and bounds. And it allowed us to be able to see where students were all the way to when they were 1 year below grade level to 2 years below grade level to 3 and plus years below grade level, each of which provides their own significant intervention in order to be able to provide for significant assistance. So this is our iReady reading diagnostic for K through 8. You notice we're sitting at the end of the year, last year, we were sitting at about 38% proficiency. I provided a little bit of just so that I could, the idea of what the changes look like between window 1 and our final diagnostic at the end of the year. So between 34%, we ended at 34% proficiency here. You see here under this particular slide, and I want to focus really quickly on this one, we do have some gaps that have existed amongst some of our student groups. And it's important to kind of be able to see that, because what ends up happening is when we see gaps such as a 26 to 34%, or a 34% being the district level, and for specific to our African-American student population, a 26% student level or level of proficiency, what you end up having to see is that you may want to target certain actions in certain areas. So, i.e., low income, you're going to focus you're going to look at evidence-based strategies that are going to focus on our low income students, things that are going to provide for vocabulary development and pieces like that. iReady mathematics. Again, you see that we finished the year at about 24% proficient, or at grade level or above in proficiency, and then you still see the same gaps in our student groups. So that's something to take into consideration just in terms of data. Now, remember, last year was a COVID year. Our students didn't come back until March. We didn't see our actual student population in the classroom until March. So our kids were where our teachers were doing fantastic work throughout the school year in terms of migrating to an online form. Our students didn't come back to in-person. We know that in-person instruction is really good for our kids. So what are we going to do? So how is Lancaster responding to 21-22? So first of all, I want to say we're in person. That's a huge thing. So we're in person. We've already seen some students doing some significantly great things. I got out of an instructional leadership team meeting right before I came here today, where I can't tell you how encouraged I was to see some of the scores just between our fall diagnostic to our winter diagnostic at one of the sites. I think one of my partners in crime, Mr. Sam Yoon, was actually at that meeting with me. We were able to sit there and we're pleased to see what was going on. So that's one piece. In terms of our positive, and I would say that that's attributed to the fact that our students are back in person and we're able to see our kids. So in terms of positive behavior intervention, remember there are 3 main priorities in our district. There's 3 main priorities in our LCAP. There's 3 main priorities that we focus on. One of them being PBIS, positive behaviors, interventions, and supports. Second step for social emotional learning. So we continue that work, and we continue it with true intent. Continued implementation of Capturing Kids' Hearts. That has not changed. We will continue to do Capturing Kids' Hearts as long as we're able to. Continued focus on common discipline expectations. And making sure that we're focusing in that area, and then constant contact with students towards re-engaging students and making sure that we're getting the students where we might be seeing some heavy chronic absenteeism rates right now, we're still trying to get them and bring them back. And we're seeing those rates for reasons that are absolutely valid. Some of them being because of COVID, because they're quarantined for such a time. So another piece of that, one of our priorities, our second priority, I'll just call it our second priority, standards-based instruction, talks about focus on instructional clarity continued. We're going to continue to focus on instructional clarity, success criteria, making sure our kids know what they are supposed to learn when they walk into the classroom. That's important to us. We have small group instruction, the still continued focus on high priority standards, instructional coaching program through the impact cycle, and focus on a continuous improvement cycle, PDSA on a constant. The last piece is our professional learning communities. That's something that we know is really, really strong, because when we can ensure a common curriculum that is going to be done with fidelity, that we know we can get our teachers to collaborate and work together, we know that we do better. So it's the whole idea that more heads are better than one. So we're going to focus on collaboration and implementing collaborative structures for teachers to work together, continued focus on creating protocols for data analysis and continuing that work, continuing to grow in the effectiveness of our collaborative teams, and training in the use of data to move teams forward. So all of those pieces are continue to be focuses of ours throughout this year and into next. In terms of our parents, we continue to focus on parenting partners. It's a program that we've started. We've done well, and we're going to keep moving forward. Our family ambassadors have consistently done well and are re-engaging our families. They're working hard on chronic absenteeism right now to make sure that our hardest to reach student groups are getting met and that they're getting to school. Ongoing monthly family social emotional learning. That's something that Dr. Bowers actually helped to bring in with a Kaiser grant. That's something that has brought us more parent participation and more parent training and more parent capacity building than we've seen. Continued work through community partnerships and work with our Welcome and Wellness Center, which will continue as well. So with that said, that's number one. There's one more. Are there any questions? Or I laid it out so perfectly well. Yes, sir.
Because of the COVID, have they changed any of the timeline, or is it pretty much the same as it was before?
The great state of California has maintained much of what what's been made in previous. We're still responsible. For instance, we've started the English Language Proficiency Assessment for California, the LPAC. We started that this week, or last week. So we started that piece. The window is the same, February through May. CASP, same thing. We're focusing on CASP. So we still have the same timelines. And the LCAP, which you will be seeing. In fact, you're going to get a little bit of an LCAP extra today, because I'm going to provide you some really cool information about our one-time supplemental LCAP update to the update tonight. So that's fun. So, any other questions? Okay. So I got it. So this is new. This is a new presentation, a new piece of information that you're going to get from us tonight. This is called the Mid-Year LCAP Update and Plan for Supplemental Concentration Funding. This is one of those things that I really feel that when we talked about it in a lot of our state and federal meetings, that this is the meeting before the meeting. Because we're getting to the point where we're starting the LCAP, we're getting things put together, we're doing the community engagement. I'm having focus groups with families, having focus group with staff, trying to get those conversations going. We're trying to get our surveys done so that we can get everything taken care of. We've been doing that all year long, and we've been focusing on a lot of good stuff. So this encompasses all of that. On top of that, it encompasses some of the pieces that have to do with our one-time funding, and then on top of that, some ongoing funding that we're going to be receiving for quite some time from moving forward. So the background of this, I can get into the bills and the assembly bills and all that wonderful stuff. But at the end of it, the heart of this is it's all about us being able to explain what we're going to do with the supplement for the annual update for 21-20 for the 21-22 LCAP. So how we're doing right now in the middle of the school year. February now is February 15th right now. We want to say this is what we're doing right now, and this is where we're at, and we're moving forward. This is where we're at, and this is what we need to do. These are the changes we might need to make, but this is really where we are right now, and provides us that impetus of where we are current school year. It also provides all available mid-year outcome data that is currently available. So not everything is ready yet. It's still cooking, I like to say. So we still got to let some stuff go. And then on top of that, it's going to provide a little bit of information regarding our mid-year expenditures and where we are in terms of funding right now, pertaining to our LCAP and our goals, our current goals. So I'm going to go over this really briefly, but this is a description of there's 5 main prompts that go along with this report that's going to be involved in the LCAP when you get it towards the spring when we bring it back for adoption. But the first one talks about how the LEA is going to engage families, how we have engaged families, and how we plan to engage families, and then some of the information that we've gotten so far. The second piece to the supplemental is a description of how the LEA used or plans to use additional concentration or grant add-on funds. So you're going to see that particular piece. The third piece to this supplement to the annual update, there's so many words in this one, is a description of how the LEA is engaged in our educational partners in the funding that has resulted directly back to our one-time funds. The second one specifically the number 4 talks specifically about how we are focusing what engagement efforts we did in terms of ESSER 3 funds. And then finally, it puts in this is going to provide us a description of how the LEA is using our fiscal resources received through 2021. So half of this is talking about funding. The other half of this is going to talk the metrics of where we are currently right now. So you're going to see where we are in terms of money and where we are in terms of actual academic progress at this particular point. So how is that money serving us? So this is the current, we received more money. We've received one-time funding than I think that has ever been seen in the state of California in terms of education. This is the impact that we've seen. You've seen about, a $9 million increase in our LCFF total funds. About $9 million in terms of our LCFF supplemental concentration grant funds. And then you see the money that's come in from other state revenues, our Title I funds, and all of those other places, our local funds, as well as our federal funds. So what you can say from the beginning, at the end of this, is that we've seen an increased amount of money, and it's happened all throughout the year. So that's important to be able to take into consideration. Prompt 1 talks about our educational partner engagement for our Budget Act. So after we got our funding, what did we do in terms of trying to engage families to try to figure out how we were going to use this money? So what we found when we were surveying families, and I've highlighted the main pieces that we saw more than one response to in terms of the input, because this is kind of that piece that talks about it talks mainly where the main emphasis were coming from the community. The one piece being preparing students for further steps in their academic careers is essential. Families said that over and over and over again. They want to make sure that their kids are going to be ready for their next the next piece to their academic careers, wherever that might be, whether they were going to be moving into a job after high school or after 8th grade. They're definitely going into high school, but the idea is how well they're going to do when they get into high school. So they want to make sure that their children are prepared. That number 4 talks about a consistent need for everyone in the school, meaning the teacher, the administrator, and the family, to be on the same page, delivering the same message. That was one piece that they really wanted to focus on. And you can understand that given the COVID-19 pandemic, there were issues in the past that would have kept that from happening. One thing that I was really happy to see is the propensity of parents to be able to say that they really wanted to make sure that their students, as well as the teachers and the faculty and the staffs, were all maintaining mental health, which was a big deal. And I think that that's a huge deal. That's a huge piece to this. Other pieces that fall into this is the idea that mental health, social emotional learning, all of that were significant, mattered, and that was something that parents really looked to as something as significant for our population.
Dr. Goins?
Yes.
I'm having a little trouble hearing with the muffling, so if you could slow down just a touch, okay? I'm sorry.
So the next piece turns into our staff surveys, because we actually worked with our staff as well when we surveyed our staff, worked with our staff, have taken information from our staff, other staff surveys that we've had in the past. The main pieces that came out of this was that idea of instructional support from site administrators as being vital to a good implementation of anything we do. So it really talked about that focus on our site administration and our site leaders. And the instructional support staff, also, this came specifically from our instructional support staff, and the fact that they wanted to have more support. They're looking for more support in terms of small group work and ELD instruction. ELD instruction was the highlight there, but small group work was what they were really focusing on. So out of all that, this is what it turns into in terms of what it looked like the excess funding was, what that extra concentration funding was going to look like at about a $9,179,242 number is the number that we're looking at. Some of it's we've been working on, we've been working with. One of the main ideas being keeping class sizes as small as possible, close to what we currently have after the COVID-19 pandemic. And on top of that, trying to avoid having combo classrooms. That has been reiterated as a priority of the district. Also turns into the maintaining paraeducator hours. Remember, we increased our paraeducators to a specific set of hours, so that was a piece of it. Leadership development moving forward is going to be what we're looking at right now, as well as to provide for professional development and non-student days for all teachers and classified staff that's going to reflect district priorities, meaning that PLC, PBIS, and standards-based instruction, SBI. Making sure that we're focusing all of those pieces together. So I'm going to stop there and ask, are there any questions? Okay. So some of the pieces that we did in order to engage our families, engage our staff, you're going to see that we've had significant engagement opportunities for staff and families. And we continue to have those engagement opportunities moving into the 22-23 school year. This was all from when we knew what we were going to get, or we knew we were getting some stuff. So we knew that was something that needed to happen. So we've got we still have plenty of engagement opportunities moving into the rest of the school year for our LCAP moving forward. We've done numerous surveys, numerous focus groups, and had small group conversations with families. And I think I've sat at a couple of SAC meetings, hijacked a couple of them, and I apologize to Dr. Bowers profusely for that on a constant. And I definitely do that with DLACs because I get to do that. So that's one of the pieces that we've done. So, and this is some of the pieces that we figured coming from the families that came directly out of our ESSER 3 funds. Main focus for families, go figure, was keep my kids safe. Keep my kids safe at school. Don't let them get sick. And if you can keep them from getting sick, do the best you can to make that happen. So one of the pieces was keeping distance. They wanted to keep distance learning an option, as well as families specifically want more help in providing for family training, and particular in terms of math and reading. So they're looking for. The interesting part about this is we've done this in the past, is we brought in our district coaches to come and train our families and provide for using manipulatives, providing the tools to be able to take them home, to be able to play with their kids with Legos, blocks, whatever they might need to be able to do that work. And the same thing with reading. We've sent home books, and I can tell you with Miss Casey and all of my colleagues, they've had a consistent focus on always thinking about that family engagement on top of what they do. So it's like that idea of making sure that that's a consistent thought process in our district's mind. We're keeping that at the forefront. Staff surveys focused on a significant need to address social emotional needs for students after the COVID-19 pandemic. So that was a big deal for our people, with social emotional learning coming from our staff and our staff focus groups. So, of all of that, these are some of the successes that we've seen from our ESSER 3 expenditure plan. You can see that I'm going to highlight one of them, tutor.com. That's been something we've been able to bring in, and I'm selfish about that one because I'm into that. We've been able to bring in the ability to have online tutoring consistently 24/7 anytime a kid wants, and be able to have all of the options in any language that they want, to be able to study any language or any subject that they want. And in fact, it's been interesting because I watched the logs. We've had some 3rd and 4th graders jumping into calculus instruction with some of the tutors that we've got. So I don't know. We might be making some clear geniuses in this district, and I think that might be happening is mainly because of tutor.com might be one of the big deals. All right, that's not laugh. Okay. So, some of the challenges that we've seen out of all of this, and I think this is pretty consistent among all of us, and everybody is pretty consistent with this. Student absences is a big deal because when a student's not here, we can't teach them. Teacher absences, when teachers aren't here, we know that our substitutes are doing the best that they can do, but we know that our kids have relationships with their teachers. And that's what helps them get into it. And I can tell you that the staff I think everybody in this room that's staff that's administrator has subbed in a classroom at some point in time this school year. So I think that's something to be said, but that's still not as good as having, Miss Smith in the classroom in front of you. So that's a big deal. Another piece has been hiring substitutes has been a struggle. Hiring certificated staff has been a struggle. Hiring support staff has been a struggle. And then on keeping them on campus because COVID-19 hits. People get sick and they're out and they're gone for 10 days. Or they're gone for a period of time. I don't want to say 10 days anymore because I get it. So some of the ideas and towards of our implementation of our strategies for continuous and safe in-person learning, our successes turn into providing materials to sites to enhance safe environments, making sure that they have what they need to be able to try to keep a safe environment. Our wellness rooms have done great work. Our work with PSA and their work in keeping our kids safe has been huge. Some of the challenges here have been hiring support personnel, illnesses of staff again, lack of access to substitute teachers sometimes, and communication with families to secure student attendance have all been problems, as well as continued need to enhance our mental health resources for students. We know that as much as we have, it's always good to have more in that place. And then there was another section to this plan called the use of any remaining funds. A lot of this turns into facilities work, which has been increased in order to provide for, again, a safer environment for our kids and maintaining a healthy workforce as COVID-19 protocols are continuously, again, it affects our staffing and the work that we can do moving forward. So there's a lot of good things that we're doing, but there's a lot of challenges. I think that's what the focus of this is supposed to be, is the fact that there's a lot of great, but there's a lot of tough, and we still got to get through a lot of things. So the last, not going to say the last piece, the second to last main piece of this turns into the use of physical resources consistent with the LCAP. And the idea here, and I've told you since the beginning of the year, I promised you at the beginning of the year that we are aligning everything. So one thing does not sit outside of the other. This was a way in which we're able to show you that one thing does not sit outside of the other. So if you look at the far left, you're going to see LCAP and the goals that we have currently sitting in the LCAP. So for instance, academics, every student will demonstrate continuous growth towards mastery of common California state standards as measured by a variety of assessments. Our ESSER 3 actions that align with that are our use of inclusive practices, intervention and enrichment, our focus on professional learning communities and alternative and the advent and the bringing about of alternative learning and instructional settings. With our expanded learning opportunities grant, we talk about integrated supports to address barriers of learning. So being able to make sure that we can take away the barriers to learning in any way possible so that our kids can still they're still having the best educational opportunities that we can provide them. And then there's that extended instructional learning time that we're trying to get at. That's part of the grant that we originally wrote months and months ago. Equitable learning practices and positive learning environments turns into counseling services, things that focus around social emotional learning and being able to really focus towards an equitable environment for our kids. Our third goal talks about safe and supportive environments. This talks about everything having to do with our COVID-19 prevention program and our COVID-19 response plan, how we've responded to COVID and what the pieces we put in place to attempt to do everything we can to minimize and mitigate anything having to do with the COVID-19 pandemic in our school sites. And then on top of that, our ESSER 3 actions talk about a clean and safe facilities, support personnel for safe schools, making sure that our kids have people to go to, and structured play, which has been an awesome where we see that implemented. And then the last goal for the LCAP was family and community engagement. This is where we start talking about how we're building our relationships with our community and building our community up. COVID-19 prevention program, COVID-19 response plan talks about cleaning and disinfecting protocols as parents come in and out. And ESSER 3 actions talk about our communication with families regarding safe, secure campuses. And our ELO talks about how our community learning, providing for community learning hubs, access to technology in the home, anything we can do to try to enhance our students' experience at the home and then possibly bring parents to that situation. Okay, last part. This gets into, this one I promise, talks about the metrics and where we are currently in terms of everything that we've been doing all year long. And so what you have here is metric in terms of LCAP baseline for our 2020 from last year, our 2020-21 baseline, desired outcome, what we said we were going to try and get at, that we were moving towards this year, and 21-22 mid-year update where we're at. So you're going to notice that CASP is not done yet. We are scheduled to take the CASP. So when that gets done, it'll be reported to you and you'll have a good solid idea as to how that's where we are in terms of color codes and all that good stuff. iReady reading overall, currently we've said our baseline was 34%, and that was 34% was to finish at 34%. Currently, we're at 24% at or above. So we're on track. We're on track with iReady to actually beat our goal, which is a good thing in our final diagnostic. But this is mid-year. This is not end of year. So just kind of making sure that that's understood. With iReady Math, 20% above grade level was the goal. We're currently at 13% at or above grade level. That's where we have about 13% of our students who are at or above grade level. CAST has not been taken yet. And then anything having to do with Youth Truth, that's currently being administered at our site, at the sites. So again, under goal 1, same thing. We talked about youth truth engagement, professional development. The teachers provided professional development, and then instructional methods came from our elementary school kids as well. And this is all in terms of youth truth is all still in process right now. Metrics in terms of the metrics that we identified for our goals for goal 2, equitable learning practices and positive learning environments, were suspension, expulsion rates, English language progress indicator, which is the LP, which we haven't had in a while because we haven't had CASP. So that's a piece to be talking about. But one of the things to celebrate is that we're currently, obviously last year we had very few, if any, expulsions. This year I think we're at a total of 3 the last time I talked to Julie. So I think we're doing pretty good at that particular piece, but we're actually waiting for next year. Everything else in this area is not complete as of yet, but again, will be at the end of the year. Goal 3 talks about equitable learning practices and positive learning environments. All of this is still under Youth Truth. The metrics that we identified were under Youth Truth, and we're still waiting on these to come in. And then safe and supportive environments, same type of deal. We're still waiting for these to come in. Family engagement, because most of this is survey data, we're still currently waiting. So with that said, the only other piece that I want to make sure that you understand, that you see, is the percentage of the funding that has been allocated and has been expended at this point in the year. At this point in the year, goal 1, we've expended 58% of what we said we were going to expend. Goal 2, we've expended 74% of what we said we were going to expend. Goal 3, 50%. And then at goal 4, we're kind of light. We're going to pick that up. We're at about 19%. In terms of progress of our actual actions, we're in progress. We're in the middle of the school year. We're in progress of pretty much everything except for implementation of core Common Core state standards. We've provided the materials for our kids, and that's an ongoing thing. As we get new students, we're maintaining that process of making sure our kids have what they need. And then in terms of goal 2, the one piece that we haven't started is the increased language development services through MTSS, which is something which is in the dockets to get started on very soon. And then again, goal 3. Pretty much everything is either in progress or completed at this particular point. Safe schools, again, pretty much if I put it in a completed column, it's also in the in progress column, because we're in February, so the year has not completed yet. So we still get to maintain safe schools. That's what we do all year long. Same thing with alternative education settings and programs, but they have been set up in district communication systems. And then finally, with our implementation of goal 4, family engagement. So with that said, the continuing impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, including the challenges of hiring staff, implementing health and safety protocols, and addressing learning acceleration needs due to the impacts of distance learning, has presented a whole lot of challenges. It has not been easy. Yet I really do believe that it's the resilience of our students, it's the resilience of our staff, it's the resilience of the people in this room, it's the resilience of the board, it's the resilience of everybody that makes this machine work, that has been what's gonna make Lancaster successful. So with that said, that's it. I've got if you have any questions, I'm here for them. In fact, yeah, if you have any questions, I'm here for you. I would love to be able to entertain.
Great presentation. I got a couple questions, but I wanted to open up to other board members first in case They have some. I'm good. Yeah, hats off first off to the, like you said, the resilience of our teachers and site personnel and CSEA. Everyone has really jumped 150% on board with coming back to the classroom and working to make it work. So, great job to everyone. So keep up the great work. One of my questions I had was, I know before we were really working hard to get a counselor at each school site. So I was wanting to know if we still have that, if we have a counselor for LAVA, for the distance learning site, because I know we have a lot of students there, and how that's working out, if we need more counselors or if what we have is working. I was kind of curious about that. And then also I was curious about like our music and arts programs. I know they kind of got cut with the COVID and everything happening. So I'm wondering if we're starting to bring those back to the school sites, because I know those are really important for the kids. And also after school programs, I'd like to see those implemented again, like coding programs, maybe even foreign language programs, maybe art programs, those kind of things. And then also family engagement. It'd be great to maybe even do like a preschool, kindergarten family engagement where they bring just have a play day for the kids. And then the families could sign up for different programs at that. And then maybe an older one where they could, see what STEAM and coding is like, and then have signups for programs for that too. But just some ideas. Just kind of wondering how that.
Those are all absolutely excellent. And in fact, I would really like if there's at some point to put it, if you could send it to me, because that's something that I can take as community input in terms of building the next LPAP, as we build the next LPAP.
And we absolutely do. I took some notes, so we'll make sure that we get that information to you. And just to address a couple of the things that you had mentioned, Mr. Teefee, all of our schools do have counselors, and several of them have more than one counselor. LAVA also has a counselor, so we are continuing to monitor that, and I'm sure Julie's very happy about, and Trish Wilson are very happy about the number of counselors. But I would say even that, there's a lot of work and support that continues to need to be addressed. So we continue to look at that and monitor the need for potentially additional counselors, but we have adopted the second step curriculum, social emotional learning curriculum across the district. So we are implementing that as well. As it pertains to music, we have maintained music programs. We have full-time music teachers at the middle schools, and then we have several of our sites that have a part-time music teacher. So we have been able to maintain that even through COVID. So we have not eliminated or reduced that at all. So those schools that were focusing on that have continued to maintain that focus, and actually a couple of them have done some performances. So they're continuing to support that. After school programs, I know that several schools are doing after school either activities or tutoring or enrichment, as well as our expanded learning opportunities department. They have some in-person project-based things that they do with students. They just had one this past Saturday. So we have a lot of after school or outside of school during intersession and the winter breaks, things like that, activities that are going on and made available. And family engagement is one that we are working on ways that we're looking forward to being able to increase that in an in-person way. So I know that there's a lot of eagerness to get back to that, and we are eager as well. We were just talking about ways that we can look at, as more flexibility is made available, look at ways that we can expand that flexibility. So we're excited about potentially being able to do that, more of that real soon. And the play date thing, we're going to have to work on that one. I'm not sure what that would look like, but as we are preparing for universal PK, you remember Kelly was talking about that. We are looking at ways that we can engage families and students as we bring more and more students onto our campus and preparing for a 4-year-old. So how can we collaborate with between preschool, TK, K, first graders to make sure that they're having opportunities to interact in an appropriate way and do more of that play-based learning. So we're in line with what you're thinking and definitely continuing to support and expand on those ideas.
Great. Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, I'd like to thank you, Jordan. I saw the reclassification percentage, 9.3.
Yeah. We're above the state.
I saw that also. That is not only above the state, but better than ever. Are we going to have another big turnout this year?
Mr. Wynn, I pray so. You know what? Our teachers are doing a wonderful job engaging all of our learners in this district. And I do believe that our EL students, as they've come back to in-person learning, have gained much more than I think than they would have in an online environment. I think that they've really thrived in the classes that I've seen in the monitoring that I've done personally. I've seen great use of strategies like accountable talk, great use of strategies that just engage kids, bring them into small groups, and get them speaking. And I think that's when we can do that on a constant basis, we're going to see that. We're going to see positive rates in reclassification.
I do hope so.
Oh yeah, I believe so. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. Have a great night. Thanks.
Thank you. Great presentation. Thank you.
Dr. Williams.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next we have addressing the board. Board members will be utilizing electronic devices during the meeting to access the online agenda, and an electronic device may be used to record this meeting. Individuals who wish to address the board may complete a speaker card and present it to the superintendent's secretary. The board president shall recognize individuals who wish to speak. Individuals wishing to present testimony to the board concerning specific items on the agenda may do so once that item has been moved, seconded, and is on the floor for discussion. Time limits of 3 minutes per person and 20 minutes per item shall be allowed, according to board bylaws 9322. Board members may ask questions for clarification purposes. However, no action may be taken and no discussion may take place on an item not on the posted agenda per the Brown Act. With that, do we have any comments from PTA?
None this evening.
CSCA?
No requests this evening from CSEA.
TAL?
We have no requests from TAL.
Any comments from the audience?
Yes, we do have some requests for comments. Our first speaker is Barbara Long.
Hello, school board. Thank you for letting me address you tonight. I want to talk to you about two things, the mandates and the sex ed curriculum. I'll start with the mandates. It's been a while since I was here last, but since that time, more evidence of hypocrisy of our government leaders is shown. All these elites showed up to large gatherings without masks, saying that one said he took his mask off to take the picture, the other one said he held his breath. Give me a break. Then there's, of course, the Super Bowl where 70,000 people gathered and most of them unmasked. Yet our school kids are still required to wear them all day. This board tells us that they take their orders from LA County Health, that you don't have the power to change the mandates. LA County tells us that that it's up to the district. So here we are again to ask you to lift these mandates. I trust some of you have common sense. You're not blind to what's going on. Who's paying the price for this? The kids and the teachers too. Almost every teacher I know report that their students are falling behind at least one grade level. My son is in special ed and he has speech. How in the world do you teach or learn speech with your mouth covered? Enough masks, enough on the masks. Let's move to the vaccines. As of January 24th, 2022, per the CDC FDA data, there has been 1,053,830 adverse events, 22,193 deaths, 20,175 deaths just this year. It should be pretty obvious by now that everything that they've told us to do is not working. There's also tons of evidence that natural immunity is 20 times stronger than the vaccine. And last but not least, the vaxxed and boosted people are still getting and spreading COVID. If people want to get themselves and even their children vaxxed, that's fine. But those of us who don't want to have our kids masked or vaxxed should have the freedom to choose. My son has already been vaccine injured and is living with autism as a result. Now to the sex ed curriculum. I'm still blown away at this. The curriculum I was given is for middle schoolers. I want to know what steps can be taken to get this curriculum out of schools. It's causing gender confusion to the kids, hurting them more than helping. Everyone says follow the science. This is not science, it's indoctrination. Men carry the gender of the child in their sperm. That's science. We also got word that one of our private schools is giving the students and parents freedom to choose whether to wear a mask or not. Lancaster School District could be the one to lead the way for the AV. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Shaylin Gamayage.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Shalyn Gamaiga. I'm a parent of 2 boys within your school district. I want to point out a couple.
I'm sorry, can you step closer to the mic?
Thank you. Well, see, that's what I want to point out. Mr. Goins talking, you couldn't even hear him. So what do you think teachers and children are dealing with on a daily basis with no speaker in front of them? That's something to think about. Another thing, if these ESSER funds are what holding us under this mandate of the state, we don't want them anymore. I'm not too sure how that works, but I know ESSER funds have something to do with it. So now to my speech. Oh, and another idea to set into place for these schools is lunch on the lawn. We had that at Westwind Elementary, where the parents can come and have lunch with their kids on the lawn. I know the weather doesn't allow it right now, but it should as soon as the weather changes. Back to my speech. First off, I would like to thank you guys for voting yes on the vaccine mandate resolution at the last board meeting. Today, I'm here to ask you to put mass choice resolution on the agenda to vote on for the March 1st board meeting. We can no longer wait for the California Department of Public Health, the Los Angeles Department of Public Health to revisit indoor mask mandate at the end of the month or in March. The time is now. When I asked my 9-year-old niece in Nevada how she felt about wearing a mask in her classroom, about not wearing a mask in her classroom, she said, I felt my brain can work better. A 9-year-old saying her brain felt like it could work better should tell you the toll that these masks are making on the children's mental health and learning loss. A well-known private school in the heart of Lancaster has opted to making masking a choice starting today. Roseville Unified School District has unanimously passed a resolution on making masks a choice. I brought copies for you guys to use to reference when creating Lancaster School District's mass choice resolution. So today I challenge you to join in by doing the right thing for our children. We as parents can see this can be done. And today I heard a quote that resonated with me. Our little humans with the lowest risk are the ones taking the biggest hit. Please do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Nikki. Thank you.
Martinez.
Good evening. My name is Nikki, and I'm the parent of two children at Westwind Computer Science Magnet.
Maybe not.
I'm here to speak on behalf of my own children, as well as the rest of the students receiving their education through Lancaster School District. How many kids are struggling because the teachers cannot see their students' puzzled faces? How do teachers check for understanding when facial responses cannot be seen? Students are having to look through layers of plastic to try and learn what their teacher is teaching them. We are asking our students to try and breathe through masks that are not working. If you look at every box of masks that are given to or purchased by the schools, they say right on them, not to be used for antiviral protection or to reduce transmission of bacteria or virus. It is literally the first thing listed on the warning label. How can we explain to our children that we have to follow these mask mandates when the very people who are creating them are not? 70,000 fans at the Super Bowl without a single mask in sight. We are damaging our kids far more than we know. While rules are a very important part of our household, rights are also a part of what we preach. We have God-given rights afforded to us by the U.S. Constitution, and quote, among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. How can these children, the future of this country, pursue happiness if they are forced to feel like they're in jail? The definition of liberty is the state of being free within society from oppressive restrictions imposed by authority on one's way of life, behavior, or political views. With that being said, what kind of life are we creating for these children? Our kids are getting punished for rules that have nothing to do with their learning or the learning of others, and rules that are inconsistently set forth by the school. My son has been punished and told he has to miss his own recess because he's not wearing a mask outside on the playground on more than one occasion, which is one too many. Taking a child's ability to exert energy and regain focus for learning in the classroom is a disservice. The first occasion occurred prior to the outdoor mask mandate, let alone, therefore punishing a child for a rule he never broke. We contacted the school administration and have never heard back, still waiting on that. He did not receive an apology, which at the very least was appropriate. We have children feeling bullied by staff to remain covered. Would you all send your children to an environment like this? How would you feel if your young child told you he loves school, but followed up with, it feels a little like jail? Let's also look at reconsidering parental involvement, or the lack thereof. We all have fond memories growing up of awards day at school, gathered for assemblies. Your parents are there clapping, right? These students worked hard for these awards and should be recognized in front of their peers, staff, and parents. My son received 2 awards last week, one of them being Principal's Honor Roll, and I was given 0 notification. I wasn't even there to cheer him on. I was heartbroken. We work really hard to make him what he is. These mask mandates, the shields around their desks, they're doing nothing. It's crippling the generation of children. Please remove the mandates and allow these children to learn freely, as all Americans should. I'm ending with a quote. Benjamin Franklin once said, "Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety." Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Bradley.
Hi, my name is Bradley, and I am 7 years old. I am in the 2nd grade at Westman. I really love going to school, and I am very smart. I can even read 9th grade words, but lately school feels like jail. Want to know why? Because every student has to learn with big shields around their desk. It makes it hard to learn, and makes it hard to see and hard to hear. My desk is in the back, so I have to look through 4 shields. Can you imagine trying to read the board through all that plastic? What is worse is wearing a mask all day, especially as a kid with asthma. It makes me want to quit school. Is this what school will always be like? I want to learn and grow. Kids are strong and healthy, and we don't need to live like this anymore. But other places are letting their students go to school normally. I hope I can do that one day. I am begging you, remove these shields and masks. Help me and my peers have a bright future, please. I don't want to feel like I am in jail every day. Please let me see clearly, breathe freely, and show others my awesome smile. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bradley. Our next speaker is Keith Yet.
Hello. So, yeah, Desert Christian is actually going maskless. There's an option now, I guess. So, our son's already enrolling, pretty soon. We've already started the process, so he'll be there. He'll be able to breathe. I like that idea. But, just as Desert Christian will do, you should be able to get over this whole thing as well. Everyone will be fine after all. I mean, so I would also ask that you look the ordinance for mass choice. Let that be a choice for the parents to make it. That makes sense, I think. Let the staff choose. After all, you guys hired them. Give them a choice. It's harmful. It's physically, emotionally harmful. I can barely breathe up here trying to talk to you guys. It's crazy. But, I expect their enrollment to go up. I hope those numbers calculated our son being disenrolled. I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but yeah, this is getting kind of old. The first COVID was a little spooky. All the sequels were kind of, subpar. So yeah, I just ask that you guys please just get ahead of the game. And thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Jaylene Davidson.
Thank you. My name is Jaylene Davidson. And just like Dr. Jordan Gaines, which you had a problem hearing him, so does everybody else. The children have a problem hearing their teachers. You have a problem when you go into a store. I can't count the times that I've had to say, excuse me, I can't hear you. I don't understand. You have crippled our children. We are no longer in a pandemic. We're not even in a state of emergency. The numbers, they don't support it. We teach our children to do what's right, to stand up against bullies, to come to one of you if they're being bullied, to stand up for another child if they see them being bullied. What are we supposed to tell them now that you're their bullies? Now that you're dividing them? Now that you're cutting off their airways? You say it's up to the county says it's up to you. But actually the county that you're talking about, actually with their numbers just recently, even on vaccines, there was only a 0.04 difference between vaccinated and unvaccinated that are still getting COVID. But you let those that are vaccinated still come out because they're vaccinated, even with the deaths. You teach these children about a constitution, about the United States, where people have actually sacrificed and died for our freedom. But then you steal their freedoms away from them. How are they supposed to understand the hypocrisy and the tyranny with that? If this does not actually break your heart each and every day, raise a tear to your eye to see what the children are going through, why are you here? I don't understand. You have suspended sports. Suicide rates have went up. What I do find interesting when I do listen to this board is every time I come in here, your numbers of students have went up. But to my understanding, enrollment is down. How does that work? I'm here today crying for the rest of these children and what they're going through, mentally and physically, while I am celebrating with a 5-year-old today who actually got to take her mask off because she goes to Desert Christian. Her parents are celebrating. She can breathe fresh air. Do you realize, and everybody has pointed it out, that these boxes tell you they do absolutely nothing. They don't stop viral or bacterial infections, but yet you still make them wear them. Each and every one of you are going to have to answer for your decisions. And I promise you, when the day comes for you to answer to your decisions, the county is going to be the least of your problems, because these children not only belong to their parents, but they belong to their creator. Why don't you start standing up for the freedom of these children and protecting them like you teach them? Right is right and wrong is wrong. And you guys doing this to our children is absolutely wrong. God help each one of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mickey Martinez.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you. That was really powerful. And I'm really glad I did not come up right after Bradley, because I was really choked up. I was speechless. You did amazing. Thank you for speaking up for your peers. I come before you this evening as a Lancaster School District teacher to encourage you to create an ordinance to make masks optional. This is a matter of public concern. As of today, masks are optional at Desert Christian School. You might tell me that is a private entity and they have the authority to do that. And I would ask you this: what about our students in our district? Are they not worthy enough to make masks optional? What about the parents in our district? Just because they are not paying to have their child in a school does not mean they are not worthy of having an opinion on what their child wears or does not wear. Good for Desert Christian. They are taking a stand to protect children. Please take a stand to protect the students and staff of the Lancaster School District. I've spoken several times on this topic, and I will continue to advocate for children until the mask mandates are lifted and the students can breathe freely in their classroom and out on the playground. As a teacher, I am implementing PBIS and capturing kids' hearts in my classroom. We all are. Our kids are a couple years behind socially and emotionally, and masks are hurting them and not helping the issue at all. The kids need to see our smiles. They need to see each other's smiles. We teachers need to see the faces of our children. Masks are a great way to hide physical abuse. Teachers are often the ones to first notice the fat lips or bloody lips. Masks are hindering our protection of the children of our district. If the purpose of wearing masks is to stop the spread of viruses and masks have been proven not to work, then why are we wearing masks? Compliance. I heard someone say that if we don't follow these mandates, we could lose funding, money. Well, if we do follow these mandates, we could lose lives, and we will most likely lose students in the end through disenrollment. They will do what I did and remove my child from this environment and take him to a school where masks are optional. And not just another school in our district, remove them from our entire district. That means no ADA for those children, the only money that we got prior to COVID. So in the end, if we do not make masks optional, our district will be losing money anyway. But California is in a state of emergency. No, that ship has sailed. There is no state of emergency. 70,000 plus fans, including political leaders and celebrities, were miraculously immune to COVID and spent hours maskless, shoulder to shoulder at a Super Bowl in California this past Sunday. There is no state of emergency. For our school board and district leaders to continue to enforce any mandates from the health department or orders from the state is being dishonest with students, parents, guardians, staff, and members of the public, which actually violates board policy 4119.21. Professional standards number 9, and all for the sake of funding. On the same board policy, professional standards number 1 starts off, quote, engaging in any conduct that endangers students, staff, or others. And it goes on, but I'll stop there. Wearing masks for 6+ hours indoors and outdoors absolutely endangers students and staff. And anyone that has witnessed this has a moral obligation to speak out against it, which I am doing. If one of our school district goals is to maintain a positive school climate, our district is failing. The mask mandate is creating an antagonistic environment between students, staff, and parents. Asking staff to enforce a mandate that goes against their personal and/or religious beliefs is blatant disrespect to staff members. Taking the choice away from parents to mask their children or not is completely disrespectful to that parent. It shows them they don't matter. Their voice does not matter. They have no rights to their child. It does not get more antagonistic than that. And for people like me having to enforce our district policy, masking children, which goes against my personal beliefs, and me having to see sadness in the students' eyes, nosebleeds, asthma attacks, anxiety attacks, I've seen them all. Please tell me how that is creating a positive school climate. If you are complicit in abusive masking policies, you lose the right to say things like, we all care about the students we serve. All it takes is one of our district leaders to stand up against this. And I'm positive more will be brave and stand up against it also. And by you remaining silent, you are showing that your job is more important than children's lives. Funding is more important than children's lives. And that is shameful and truly disappointing. Please vote on an ordinance that makes masking optional.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Carla Galvin.
Good evening. My name is Carla Galvin. I'm a mother of 5 children, 3 who attend Westwind Elementary. I'm here to tell you these mandates should end. Putting germ bacteria-ridden cloths over our kids' faces for over 6 hours is abusive. These germ catchers are ineffective and you know it. Today, my 6-year-old was denied an education because she chose to exercise her freedom of choice. There was no accommodation made for her to stay in school. Denying my children an education is unlawful per section 49451 of the Education Code. Likewise, does not authorize school officials to send a healthy child home simply for refusing to wear a mask. My children should not be facing these kind of problems. I shouldn't have to hear my daughter crying over the phone because she cannot remain in school. She is now being bullied by her peers, telling others to get away from her because she's not wearing a mask. My child is not sick. She is healthy. Do you see what you're teaching our kids? You're creating separation, not unity. The same teacher that didn't allow my child in the classroom today to get an education is the same teacher that allows in classroom parties. You can unmask for that. But if you're getting an education, mask up. You have forced teachers to care more about being the mask police instead of caring if our children are getting the proper education to get far in life. You're teaching our children to live in fear like if that's the new normal. You are ruining their childhood by abuse of power. There is no state of emergency. If you saw the Super Bowl this past weekend, you saw all those celebrities, including Mayor Garcetti in attendance, maskless, no social distancing, enjoying life while our children have to mask to get an education. Stop trying to take our children's rights. Again, abuse of power and hypocritical. Each and one of you on this board has the power to stand up for our children, but you choose to do nothing. You are committed to these nonsensical mandates instead of being committed to our children and their well-being. You are all responsible for this abuse. You're responsible for our children's tears, for the fear that many children feel. If you care for our children, let it be shown with action, not in silence. You individuals are wrong for pushing our kids aside. Parents, I encourage you to take a stand for your children. We do not co-parent with any of these individuals. We are the health authority for our children, not schools. Our schools are failing our children. These are all our parental rights. I encourage all of you parents to find out who is teaching your children and what they believe. Our children are suffering more under this COVID policy than from the actual virus. This is not about health. This is truly political. Parents, if you leave your children in a world where you never stood up for them, they will inherit a world where they can't. We are their union. And also, I want to add, every one of you stood up to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Do you know what indivisible means? Unable to be divided or separated. And that's exactly what is going on. What about with liberty and justice for all? Where is our children's liberty and justice? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Bronna Flynn.
Thank you. Good evening. It's been a while. I came here to speak in person in case there was another accidental technical difficulty with the live stream like last time. There seems to be a lot of concern, as there should be, for our students' social and emotional well-being. I too am worried and can't help but wonder why our district hasn't opted out of state testing, for example. The only reason I can think of is money. We don't want to lose out on the money that comes with following state mandates to take standardized tests for our non-standardized accommodation requiring lessons. That being said, another money-related situation comes into mind. The governor's executive order on staff and students being fully vaccinated to be on school campus effective July 1st. I bring this up because when a school board member, the president in particular, states that, and I quote, "I will do my best to keep COVID vaccines a personal choice and not required for school or employment," I can only assume that state funding is not an issue in this situation. I'm slightly confused by the decisions of what constitutes caring about the social and emotional well-being of our students. God forbid we should consider staff. Not following an executive order regarding vaccinations will result in our school district not receiving state funding and risk losing the liability insurance coverage. I can't help but wonder about the fiduciary responsibility of this elected school board. Do we have enough in our reserves to fully fund and run a school district without state funding? Can you legally run our school district without the liability insurance? As elected officials, you are not here to push your own political agenda, but rather make responsible decisions that affect the majority of all stakeholders in the most positive and effective manner. And while we're on the topic of social and emotional well-being of students in the spirit of Black History Month, maybe you should take accounting of the demographics of our students and percentages represented in the Cubs program, ISI, suspensions, and RISE or Leadership Academy. Just a thought. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we do have a few more speakers that have requested to speak, I need to ask if everyone can please make sure that they have their mask on so that we may proceed with the rest of the meeting. Thank you very much. Our next speaker, and I'm not sure if you wanted to do it together, I have Kristen Welch. And did you want Bella to come up with you or no? She's going to do it separately? Absolutely. Please come to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you once again for your time this evening.
I'm here again tonight because, like many other parents who have spoke, I am fed up. I'm going to spare you statistics and details tonight that I usually like to go through and bore everyone with, because you've undoubtedly heard it all from everyone else, and I'm sure you've heard it all week in the office since our wonderful leaders decided to forgo their own rules at the Super Bowl and just basically do whatever they want. I don't have time to give health lectures either, so. What I will say is that I'm sick of the runaround that I've been given and the constant back and forth between the school district, the city council, the county board of supervisors office, and the office of the Department of the Public Health. The bottom line here is that you have the final say into regard how these ridiculous rules, I'm not even going to call them mandates. We all know this is not lawful. I'm also not going to give you a legal history lesson again today, so. It's just funny though, because this has already been mentioned a couple times as well, but these rules are being implemented basically at the expense of our children. Our kids were sold out so that you guys can get ESSER and other funding. We're just gonna put it that way. That's what it is. We're not gonna keep blanketing it in nice words anymore. And so, you know, since we accepted all this money, we kind of have to do what we're told now, right? But at what cost? My child? Not being able to go to school, not being able to spend Valentine's Day with her classmates. Her principal, David Denning, over at Nancy Corey, had to come bring her a Valentine's Day gift yesterday because he felt so damn bad for her. Is that the message we want to send my daughter? I want you guys to finally admit that you royally screwed up here and that you've aided in stealing 2 years away from not only my child, other students, your faculty members, but from yourself. Look at in the mirror every day. How does wearing a mask do anyone any good? I want you to ask yourself why in particular too, that as all of these draconian mandates that these leaders don't even follow on their own are slowly being released on the populace, that they want to keep the kids in masks in particular. Have you asked yourself why? It's because our kids can't vote. Okay? Let's just say it that. Our kids can't vote. They're the silent victims in this situation, and it's parents like me and every parent that's speaking in this room why they have a voice, because you took it away from them. And we're here to give it back. And we're not going to stop until you do your part and you give it back. Find your own voice too. Support your staff members who have to risk losing their jobs, and principals like David Denning who don't even want to come here, who have to tell me he's doing all his dealings and talkings with you guys about how he feels behind closed doors because he's scared of losing his job. But guess what? You can't fire me, can you? School boards across the country and in our own state are realizing that parents are waking up and taking back their power. And I urge you to make the right choice here before it gets to the point where some like-minded parents in our community end up giving you guys legal ultimatums that you don't want to deal with. And I promise you, you don't want to do that. You're failing to do your job. And I'm going to tell you what, the people in charge are laughing at all of us, you included. Okay? Like I said, they don't follow their own rules, but they expect us to take it seriously. This is enough. We don't need to wait another week, another month, another year, another 2 years for our freedoms to get taken away. This has to end now. We're showing our children that it's okay to live in fear and that they do not live in a world where they have choice. You're perpetuating that. You know that this is wrong. And as I sit here and other parents sit here and give you these speeches, you know in your heart of hearts it's wrong. That can almost easily be demonstrated when we go back to the speech that we listened to earlier about the aforementioned ESSER funding and how we have more money but less enrollment in kids. That doesn't really make sense to me there. And it's because less kids mean that more parents are realizing that this is not working. You want to talk about flexibility and how happy you are that you get to help these kids. But, you know, what are you doing physically besides talking out of your guys' neck to help these kids? You have the power. The county doesn't have that power. We need you to do the right thing. We need to give our faculty and our students their own choice, parents to make choices for their own children, and our own medical autonomy. It is beyond time for these measures to be lifted once and for all, and I know that you guys are going to make the right decision because we all know that if you don't, what happens next? And parents are ready for the next step. Are you?
Maybe.
My name is Bella Manus. I am in the 4th grade and I go to school at Nancy Corey. I am upset because I cannot go to school and see my friends' faces. It is very sad. I can't go to school anymore because of it. I really miss my school very much because I have been there for a long time. I do not understand why I have to wear a mask at school all day when I am at home or at the store or anywhere else. I don't have to wear a mask. Only at school, and it makes me really sad when my teacher always tells me to pull my mask up. Yesterday, I missed my Valentine's Day party, and my principal had to come to my house just to bring me a Valentine. I really hope you guys can fix this so kids like me can enjoy going to school again free again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to both of you. Our next speaker is Mark. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mark Napolitano, and I'd like to start off with giving Bradley and it was Bella another round of applause. Hearing it from a 7-year-old, I have a 12-year-old daughter sitting in the back seat there. I teared up multiple times. If you guys aren't having that effect, maybe you shouldn't be involved in educating children. Good evening, board. I would first like to thank you all for your participation and hard efforts. I am Mark Napolitano, a resident of the Antelope Valley for over 30 years. One thing that amazes me is we're all still continuing to force mandates upon our children when those who propose such mandates choose to carelessly not follow these mandates themselves. Yes, I'm referring to our governor and not only LA's mayor, our own local mayor, Steve Hoffbauer, and local council members have also not followed these mandates. Those are elected officials. I don't even want to go into the celebrities. What's the famous saying? Rules for thee, yet not for me. What I'm more concerned with is all the damaging effects we have allowed upon our children and future generations to come. We sat our children at home and attempted for them to learn virtually, which was a good effort. However, it most likely was not rewarding. I logged on to californiasschooldashboard.org earlier at an attempt to find testing scores for Lancaster School District, which I was unsuccessful for the last 2 years. We must remember, what and who are we truly here for? The state, the county, the district, or for each and every one of the students attending your schools? Has anyone taken a time out to consider the damaging effects on these children? Not only academically, yet socially, emotionally, and psychologically as well. Children have returned to learning and have made adjustments per ordinances. When is the last time we allowed these children to attend any field trips? I want to talk about $9 million. Can the kids go on a field trip or two maybe this year? It's almost as they have been trapped and their movements became restricted. I truly feel masking of children, who happen to have the highest survival rate, need to be parental choice, not that of our elected officials that so carelessly don't comply. We need to lift our children up and allow them to be children. We need to focus on making sure they can and do learn in the proper manner. You've already heard it from multiple students. They can't see through 7 layers of freaking plastic shields. Come on, guys. It's common sense. Bring back sports and field trips. Allow them the liberties we all enjoyed as children too. For the parents who are truly exhausted of all this, we stand with you. Also, there is a school choice petition at Butler's Coffee and at Desert Christian. The petition allows for roughly 14,000 of your taxpayer dollars to follow your child to a private school of choice. I'm encouraging the board to enact a proposal of legislation for parental choice of masking students. Remember, You're the voice of our kids, and we will and are fighting with you. Thank you, and may God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Mario Presents.
Good evening, board. I want to give you guys a story. Lacrete, Alberta, population 3,500, defied the odds and did not shut down amid the pandemic that has crippled the rest of the world. They are 7 hours away from their governing seat of power and the draconian enforcement of their mandates or authorities who enforce them. This tightly knit community chose to stand together rather than apart in isolation. Often called the Mennonite capital of the North, similar to the Amish, they put their faith in God over all else. Grace Life Church, the second largest faith in the community, feels similarly and also resisted their lockdowns. Their faith calls them to meet uncovered every week and did not forsake in-person fellowship at the request of the county governance, Faith encouraged this community to defy the laws of man when the laws of man are unjust, and defy they did. They did not, however, deny the facts surrounding a new virus. They chose to reveal them with education. Chambers of commerce, school districts, and city councils around the world didn't resist the shutdowns. Instead, they sought for reimbursement for lost days and added expenses like masks for employees. The Chamber of Commerce in Lacrete facilitated testing while the city government represented the will of the people and did not shut down, social distance, sanitize every surface, distribute masks, or mention vaccines to any resident. The entire community continued life as normal. The city council, school board, and local chamber of commerce all honored the will of the people by staying open as the county and state of Alberta incentivized vaccination with $100. Meanwhile, the Chamber of Commerce partnered with a private testing firm for the community. Rebel News reporter Sheila Gunn Reid is a double vaccinated and regularly tests her antibodies with a friend who is not vaccinated and has recovered from the disease. Both people remain at greater than 2 units per milliliter of antibodies in the blood, which is the highest level of testable immunity. However, only one of these women can live freely in their city. The whole community of Lacrete did the same experiment on a large scale. Residents tested voluntarily and paid out of pocket to send their blood out of the country to check for COVID-19 antibodies. With no coercion by society, using threat of termination, exclusion of activities, and bombarding propaganda, the 35% vaccination rate was purely driven by choice because all activities in Lacrete did not require a health passport or mask. This rate is also similar to the average rate of vaccination of the influenza shot every year. Imagine that. 1 in 3 residents chose to participate in this 2-year study. And of the 1,200 volunteers, 991 were unvaccinated. 89% of the unvaccinated population showed a response to COVID-19 and a subsequent recovery with measurable spike proteins. The head of the testing facility agreed that the community of Lacrete officially reached herd immunity without a shutdown. The pandemic is officially over in Lacrete. How long until it reaches the rest of the world, or at least one of your campuses?
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a final comment that was actually sent in for me to read, and that's from Laura Giles. Laura is not here? Okay. And the comment reads as follows. Good evening. Thank you to our Superintendent, Michelle Bowers, for writing the vaccine resolution that was approved by the board at the last meeting. I have been petitioning the board since August of 2021 regarding the masking of children in school. I have asked repeatedly for a resolution to be adopted for parental choice in masking. I am asking again for a mask resolution to be put on the agenda for the next school board meeting. It is beyond hypocritical for the Los Angeles mayor to appear repeatedly at mega events, football game, and at the Super Bowl without a mask, along with the majority of the over 70,000 people in attendance, and still require our children to be masked indoors and outdoors. Mask requirements are being lifted all over the states. Even counties in California are lifting mask requirements, but our health officer is clinging to unattainable metrics of 50 per 100,000 cases. The idea of zero COVID in community is anti-science. The lifting of COVID restrictions should not be tied to vaccinations or vaccination rates. I have said it before and I will repeat it again. If the vaccinated can still catch COVID and transmit it to others, then it is no longer a public health benefit. It is a personal health choice. Vaccination only increases protection from severe outcomes. Children are at the least risk of severe outcomes of COVID. The CDC states that transmission of COVID in the school setting is extremely low, yet the measures in school are the most restrictive. Health screens daily, temperature checks, mask indoors and outdoors, social distancing, plexiglass around the desk, and quarantining of healthy, asymptomatic children. It should be a parent's choice to vaccinate or mask their child. It should also be a parent's choice not to mask or vaccinate their child. The school board should not be enforcing mandates that are the responsibility of the parent. Please put a mask optional resolution on the agenda and adopt it and send it to the county health officer. The ending of these mandates will not happen without your involvement. Thank you, Laura Giles. And she has also provided a copy of the resolution of the Roseville Joint Union High School District Board of Trustees regarding mask mandates for students. That concludes the comments.
Thank you. And again, we'd like to thank all of your input at tonight's board meeting. Okay, next we have individual action items. Superintendent, item 13A, approval of vote for candidates for the 2022 CSBA Delegate Assembly. Candidates listed are Julie Bookman, Steve DiMarzio, Keith Giles, Ernesto Smith. And do we have a motion for this?
So moved.
Motion by Keith Giles.
Second.
Second by Diane Grooms. Any discussion?
Well, if I don't mind saying myself, the incumbents are pretty good people. I don't know the guy from Newhall, but I do know that the people that are the incumbents do their job, and they do speak up, and they're all good delegates.
Excellent. Any other comments or discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 I'm sorry, we just need to formally name the candidates. I appreciate the discussion, but we just need to verify
Reread it.
the names of the candidates that you're formally wanting to move forward.
Okay, so with
Who you're
that,
voting for.
we'll be voting for Julie Bookman, Stephen DiMarzio, Keith Giles, and Ernesto Smith.
Not Ernesto Smith. You only get three.
You only get three.
Okay, so not Ernesto Smith. So the first three incumbents, again, that's Julie Bookman, Stephen DiMarzio, and Keith Giles. With that, all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Okay, next we have individual action items business, adoption of resolution 2021-22, education protection account, requirements for the 2021-22 school year. Do we have a motion?
Second.
Moved by Diane Grooms. Second by Wayne Wynn. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Next, we have consent agenda items, superintendent, items 15A to 15D. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Keith Giles.
Second.
Second by Dwayne Wynn. Any discussion? in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carry 4-0. Item 16, consent agenda items, business, items 16A to 16I. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Diane.
Second.
Second by Keith. Any discussion or questions on business?
I just had a question regarding was the cameras at Sunnydale, I think it was. Which one? Yes. I guess security cameras or
Yes, we have had a few concerns, so we've had to position, well, we did some fencing and then we have been in the process of installing some security cameras on the exterior. And I believe there might be one in the front office as you come in.
right. So the exterior cameras with no audio, just video.
No,
Yeah, we're not allowed to have audio on our cameras. So yeah, there are exterior cameras.
Right.
There are 4 in the parking lot and 1 in the front office.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, with that, call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion's carry 4-0. Okay, item 17, consent agenda items, educational services, items 17A to 17J. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Nguyen
Second.
and second by Mrs. Grooms. I was kind of curious, how does that CABE conference work for the parents?
Typically, they have it's a mini conference, small conference, and it's been in person where they go and they participate in training for the families for ways to interact with the school and such. Dr. Goins, it is in person this year. Is that correct and not virtual? Yes, it's going to plan to be in person this year.
And is that going to be at a certain school site or?
Do you know if it's a specific? I don't know the site exactly. It's in Palmdale.
Homedale. So it's open to all the districts up here in the valley?
Represents the valley.
Okay, great. Okay. Any other questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carry 4-0. Okay, next items 18, consent agenda items, human resources services, items 18A to 18B.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Giles.
Second.
Second by Mr. Nguyen. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Okay, item 19, consent agenda items, innovation and technology services, items 19A to 19C. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Diane,
Second.
second by Keith Giles. So LACO provides the E-rate for all our schools.
LACO is going to provide our 10 gigabyte line for our schools so it's our internet connection. That's through our E-rate. So E-rate pays 90% of it, which is great. And no one will even notice a change when we make it.
That's very nice. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Okay, item 20, legislative and policy discussion. Is there any discussion on any of the items, procedures? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on to comments from the board and superintendent. Mr. Giles.
Okay, well, congratulations to our life changer. I guess we have to, how do we do a vote? Is that like, it's online, I guess, or?
Yes, it's online, and I believe we have a QR code that's attached if.
We'll make sure we get all that so we can at least get our at least one vote in.
We will send that to you.
Seems like he was kind of down for not 2 votes, but we can do one at least.
We can do one at least. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Goins, for your in-depth reports. Very good. They're just, it's a lot of information, but thank you. I appreciate you doing that. I couldn't do it, but I'm glad you're here to do that for us. Thanks to all our speakers. As you can see, our parents are reaching frustration points as I have been as a parent, and, you know, being firsthand a parent all this time, it's very hard on the kids, and I know it's probably hard on the staff and all of us, but maybe we can come to some kind of agreement. But with that, I just want to thank our board for working through this, and hopefully we can move forward with some normalcy for our staff and kids. But that's all. That's it for me. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Giles. Next, Mrs. Grooms.
Yes, thank you again for the update on the LCAP, the mid-year update. It's difficult to measure academic success when we're comparing it with very old data, but I do appreciate the information that we do have and the work that the entire staff and community is doing in supporting this. Mr. Francois, just fabulous. Congratulations for being a life changer. I think our Leadership Academy is absolutely blessed to have him, and I really thank him for this national recognition. It's just wonderful. I want to thank each and every one of our speakers tonight. Every word you said is absolutely vital to helping us as a community at large make these decisions. And I thank you for making those. These are extremely tough times for all of us. And even our Board of Supervisors Representative Catherine Barger, her voice is falling on deaf ears as well with the County Health Department. And it is extremely frustrating to not be able to make a change that we know is for the good for the kids. But thank you anyway for giving us your messaging. That's all.
Great, thank you. And Mr. Wynn?
Yeah, good evening. Vote yes, not only for Mr. Francois, but we have 4 schools being in the best of the Antelope Valley voting, and that is
yes,
Fulton Hillsbury, Nancy Corey, Monte Vista, and Jack Northrop. And
I did see that. That's
so in the schools, you can vote for one of them. I think you can do it every day. I have.
Once a day, I think.
And then there's also in the college part of the best is also Fulton and Hillsbury. So you can vote for them twice if you wanted to each day. I am glad to see the attendance go up again this board meeting by 44. We're still down, as the lady mentioned. Yes, our attendance is down. But I'll tell you what, we are one of the few schools in the Antelope Valley because of the things we do, because of Mr. Francois, because of the other mentions we get in the paper of the good things this valley does, we are increasing. We are not staying in a decreasing level. And although the people want to move to Desert Christian, you know, I look at it as if we are still the best district in the Antelope Valley. We have the best schools. We have the best teachers. We have the best principals and administrators. We have teachers coming back, rehiring, that some of our staffs probably had as a teacher. Talking about Miss Hatcher. Mike, good job getting her back. And for all of us, you know, let's just keep up this good work. The Lancaster School District is top notch. Charles, good to see you again. And if somebody asked about going to Tehachapi earlier, I think Charles has to go all the way to Bakersfield. So safe driving tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, watch it. It's probably slippery roads.
Be careful. Great. Thank you.
And I forgot to mention, Greg, thanks for the confidence in voting for our 3 delegates. Forgot to mention that, but I enjoy being a delegate. It's better now that we're in person. It was a little tough on me on that Zoom year, but I had some interesting places. I did some delegate assembly meetings, but it was actually nice being at the conference and getting back to delegate assembly again. So thank you for, well, it's not a shoe-in, but thank you for at least our vote. Appreciate it.
And we appreciate you serving in that capacity and
thank you
representing us here in the district and the valley. Yeah, great work. All right, great comments, a great LCAP presentation. It's neat to see we're continuing to do the work and keeping that in the forefront. All the areas we're looking at to improve in our district and keep working on. And great to see our enrollment is going up as well. And I know there was some confusion as to why our numbers are down. Almost every district in the valley, even throughout the state of California, after COVID, the enrollment went down quite a bit. So districts are still working to recapture their enrollment since after COVID when that went down. So that's where we're keep going up. We are making good progress each time. So hats off to all the progress everybody's making in that area. And again, too, thank you for the comments. We appreciate that and hearing from parents and students. Great comments from the students. That was great to hear that. And we do want to have parent choice as much as possible as we can. And so we will be looking at those recommendations and seeing how we can move forward with that. So with that, great board meeting. And we don't have any closed session from here, right? Okay. So Ms. Bowers?
Thank you very much, Mr. Teefee. I too would like to just again congratulate Mr. Francois for the outstanding work that he continues to do, and the recognition is well deserved. So we're excited for him and we wish him well, and I'm going to cast my vote. I will make sure to do that, as well as thank you for the mention, Mr. Nguyen, of our schools that are part of the AV Best consideration. So I'll be casting my vote for them as well. Thank you, Dr. Goins, for your report. And lastly, thank you to the speakers. And I would like to reassure the board and our community and staff members that we are as exhausted with all of this as everyone. But we are definitely continuing to monitor very, very, very closely. And as the situation improves, we are having conversations on a regular basis, but a lengthy one just this morning. So we are going to be looking at, while we know that the mask health order is still where it is right now, that we are going to be looking at some other areas and reaching out to the community and to the staff to get some input on some of these things so that we can hopefully move forward and provide a little bit more flexibility and latitude this spring. We are eager to try to make that happen.
And I don't know if, Greg, I don't know if we can bring back some kind of a resolution to make mask a choice, but I don't know if it would, I'd really like to send that forward to our elected officials, but if that's possible to do it again, I know we tried it before, but I don't know if things have changed for anybody, but I'd really like to see it on there again.
Would it be possible to get more input from our attorney as far as in closed session?
We can, and I am happy to bring the resolution forward again. I will tell you we are working on a survey that we can send out regarding masking. So if you would like to wait until we have the results of the survey, we're working very hard to try to get that out as quickly as possible so that you have some input from staff members, from community members that will inform at least where folks are as far as lots of different safety protocols. But we're wanting to extend an invitation for some more input via this survey. So we will keep you informed about that, and we're trying to get it out really quickly. But I'm happy to bring it back, the resolution back sooner than that, unless you would prefer to wait until we do the survey.
Yeah, if we could get survey results and then maybe possibly meet with the attorney in closed session to find out before what the legal ramifications might be.
Sure.
If that would work.
Sure.
That would be great.
Okay.
Okay. Excellent. Any other items or discussion? Excellent. And with that, we're going to adjourn at 8:04. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
By Mr. Giles. Second. By Mr. Wynn. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Great meeting, everyone. Have a great evening.